In this vlog, we shall together explore the Great Wall of India. This has made its mark in history as the second largest wall after the Great Wall of China. It is none but the Kumbhalgarh Fort in Rajasthan. Nestled in the foothills of the Aravalli Mountain Range, Kumbhalgarh near Udaipur is a majestic citadel and a major tourist attraction. Kumbhalgarh Fort is one of the 5 hill forts of Rajasthan that were declared the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2013. Hello all, welcome to Studious Wanderer. After exploring all the places in Udaipur, we happened to make a difficult choice between Kumbhalgarh Fort and Chittorgarh Fort. We have finally opted to explore Kumbhalgarh Fort now and explore Chittorgarh Fort later during our trip to Spiti Valley. You have to drive through Small Ghat Road to reach Kumbhalgarh Fort, and there is parking available just in front of the fort. This is the second biggest fort of India. In fact, it is a hidden fort, which you can see only once you arrive near this fort. You cannot see this fort from a far off distance. This was the engineering beauty of this fort, and the King Kumbhal built this secret fort in this way to avoid enemy attack. We visited in the morning around 10. The entry fee is 40 per person, and the vehicle cannot go inside the fort. Constructed at a height of 1,100 meters, 3,600 feet. This peripheral wall runs for 36 kilometers straight. This makes it the second longest wall in the world, after the Great Wall of China. While anecdotes about the monument sing of the glory of its king, its winding construction are testimony to the diligence of the laborers. The entire structure, including the grand facade, took only about 15 years to complete. The entire site is studded with 7 fortified gateways, which are called poles, and its frontal walls stand 15 feet thick. It is no wonder that the fort remained unconquered until the coming of the British Raj in the 19th century. This extravagant monologue of architecture was built by Rana Kumbha of Mewar and became the birthplace of Maharana Pratap. But the bricks and stones of the fortress hold much more than just history. The culture of Rajasthan comes to life within these walls. The structure is known to have approximately 360 temples of various religions, palaces of ostentatious display, and diverse flora and fauna to discover. Surrounded by verdant forests, the fort attracts travelers due to its pristine location and architectural grandeur. It is believed that the original Kumbhalgarh Fort dates back to the 6th century and was built by King Samprati of the Maurya age. However, due to the lack of any recorded evidence, the history of the fort from its origins to invasion by Alauddin Khilji in 1303 AD remains vague. The fort as we see it today was built by Kumbhakarna aka Rana Kumbha of Mewar Kingdom in the 15th century. It was designed by a famous architect of that period, named Mandan. According to local legends, Rana Kumbha faced many difficulties during the construction of the fort that he nearly abandoned it. Then a holy man told him that all these problems would end if a pure-hearted man willingly sacrificed his life for the construction. On hearing this, the king was disappointed, and that was when the holy man beheaded himself and sacrificed his life. After that, the king was able to build the fort without any problems. It is believed that the entrance to the fort marks the place where the holy man's head fell. Thanks to its strategic location, Kumbhalgarh was used as a safe refuge by the rulers of Mewar at times of threat or danger. It has remained witness to many significant events that have shaped the region's history, like that Maharana Pratap was born in this citadel. The fort provided shelter to the infant Prince Uday of Mewar after Chittor fell under siege. Though the fort came under attack from various rulers and invaders, it remained invincible except for once when, in 1576, it was conquered by Man Singh I, the general of Emperor Akbar. Later, the fort was taken over by the colonial rulers before it finally came under the aegis of the government of Rajasthan. Due to its mountainous location, Kumbhalgarh was built in the Rajput military hill architectural style that makes use of the defensive properties of the terrain. The fort is built on a hilltop, at a height of about 3,600 feet above sea level, and enveloped by a 36 kilometers long wall with 7 fortified gateways. There are more than 360 temples inside the fort, out of which 300 are ancient Jain temples, and the others are Hindu shrines. Though several additions were made to the fort by the rulers of Mewar over the years, the original structure exists even now. Today, Kumbhalgarh is one of the most popular forts near Udaipur, and is visited by tourists all year round. Every year, a 3-day annual festival is organized inside the fort by the Rajasthan Tourism Department to honor Maharana Kumbha's passion for art and architecture. Various dance events, concerts, heritage fort walks, light and sound shows, and other activities form the main attractions of this annual festival. Kumbhalgarh Fort may not be in its best shape today, but it's worth a visit for its unique architectural style and historical significance. You can get splendid views of the surroundings from the terrace of the fort's palace, including the sand dunes of the Thar desert. In the evenings, the fort is marvelously lit up for some time. Kumbhalgarh marked different territories between Mewar and Marwar, and was used as a place to escape whenever there was an attack. The Kumbhalgarh Fort wall is built out of stone bricks and passes through the valleys of the Aravalli ranges and ends at the top of the hill. Some stretches of the wall have been ruined with time. It has a great resemblance to the Great Wall of China, and is one of the hidden gems of India. It's also said that the site of Kumbhalgarh Fort was originally settled by a Jain prince, Samprati, in the 2nd century BC. Its isolated and concealed position, atop a lofty hill surrounded by concentric hills and valleys, gave it a commanding view and strategic importance. Previous Mewar rulers were familiar with the site's potential. However, it was Rana Kumbha who harnessed it and meticulously developed it by taking advantage of the terrain's natural contours. Unfortunately, Rana Kumbha was killed by his son Uday Singh I in 1468, not long after Kumbhalgarh was built. The fort lost its glory for many decades after that, but was revived to play a key role in the Mewar kingdom's history. After Sultan Bahadur Shah of Gujarat besieged Chittorgarh Fort in 1535, the heir to the throne, Uday Singh II, was sent to Kumbhalgarh for safety. He was coronated inside the fort in 1540 and his son, heroic king and warrior Maharana Pratap, great-grandson of Rana Kumbha, was born there the same year. Uday Singh II went on to found Udaipur. Before dying in 1572, Maharana Pratap spent much of his reign at war with the powerful Mughal Emperor Akbar. Unlike neighboring Rajput rulers, he refused to give in to the Mughals. This resulted in the horrific Battle of Haldighati in 1576. Although the Mughals won, Maharana Pratap managed to escape. The Mughals continued to try and capture Kumbhalgarh but failed. To gain access, they had to resort to poisoning its water supply. In 1579, this enabled them to occupy the fort for a few years, until Maharana Pratap recovered it in the 1582 Battle of Duer near Haldighati. The Mewar king's victory was overturned in the 17th century, though when Rana Amar Singh won, Maharana Pratap's son reluctantly gave up the fight and surrendered to Mughal Emperor Jahangir in 1615. Kumbhalgarh's importance waned from then on. Violent invasion of Marathas from present-day Maharashtra became the main threat in the 18th century after the decline of the Mughals. It wasn't until the early 19th century that the fort was finally returned to the Mewar kings, when Maharana Bhim Singh signed an alliance treaty with the British East India Company in 1818. During his reign from 1884 to 1930, Maharana Fateh Singh carried out restoration works at Kumbhalgarh. The visionary king was an avid builder. He added the Badal Mahal at the fort's highest point. Following India's independence from the British, Kumbhalgarh became a protected monument under the auspices of the Archaeological Survey of India. The sprawling fort complex has many well-preserved structures that narrate the saga of its rich past. Some important things to see in Kumbhalgarh include Kumbha Palace, the residence of the king; Badal Mahal, a two-storied structure built by Rana Fateh Singh; Lakola Tank, constructed by Rana Lakha; Ram Pal, the main gateway to the fort; Arat Pal, Hanuman Pal, and Halapal, other major gateways to the fort; Badshahi Bhavdi, a water tank; Hindu temples, including the ancient Ganesha temple and Neelkanth Mahadeva temple; Jain temples, including the Parsvanatha temple, Galara Jain temple, Mamdeo temple, Mataji temple, Surya Mandir, and Pital Shah Jain temple; Chatris, Boweries, and water reservoirs. Some of the lesser-known facts about Kumbhalgarh Fort are: Number 1. Kumbhalgarh Fort is one of the largest fort complexes in the whole world, and the second largest fort in India, the first being the Chittorgarh Fort. Number 2. The fort's walls are so wide that 8 horses can walk abreast through it. Number 3. You have to cross 7 massive gates before entering the fort. Each consecutive gate is narrower than the previous one. The gates were constructed in this manner so that elephants and horses can't enter the fort beyond a certain point. Number 4. King Samprati, who is believed to be the builder of the original fort, was the grandson of Emperor Ashoka. Kumbhalgarh, beyond any doubt, is a fascinating destination where several stories from the past await you to be told and retold. Hope you enjoyed a trip to this historical fort with us.